since 1966.
This is NBC4's News Conference with Conan Nolan, Southern California's longest-running public affairs program.
On this edition of News Conference, among the remarkable events over the past week was the announcement by Mayor Eric Garcetti of a dramatic shift in how Los Angeles City Hall views its priority department, public safety. The mayor saying instead of a planned increase, he will instead slash the police department budget by upwards of $150 million. And by taking another $100 million from other departments, will spend $250 million on youth job programs, health initiatives, and peace centers in low-income neighborhoods. But what does that mean? Who exactly gets the funding? And what about comments from City Council President Nury Martinez that the cuts to the police budget were needed to fight the dehumanizing and deadly racism at the LAPD? We talked with City Councilman Curren Price, who joined Martinez in the motion for the police budget cut, Robert Harris, a board member with the LA Police Protective League, law enforcement expert Errol Sothers of the Safe Communities Institute at USC, and civil rights attorney Connie Rice, for years a leading critic of the department and advocate of police reform in cities around the nation. Good morning and welcome to the Tom Brokaw News Center here at Universal City. I'm Conan Nolan. Thank you for joining us. LA City Council President Nury Martinez is unavailable and could not appear on our program this morning, but we do have Curren Price, member of the Los Angeles City Council from the 9th District. He represents parts of downtown, Exposition Park, and South LA, and was one of the 3 council members who introduced the motion to cut the police budget and spend some $250 million on programs for neighborhoods of color in the city of LA. So, Councilman, first, thank you for joining us. Can you explain what your motion is all about?
You know, it's about making sure that communities who have been underserved in the past have some resources that will permit them to move forward. We're talking about programs for youth, programs for those who are unemployed, those who have been out of work, economic development programs, loans, maybe even grant programs for businesses. It's a reordering of our priorities, Conan, and it's an exciting time to be here, an exciting time to be involved in this process.
Now, we know you're getting money from the police department. Where else?
I don't know, Conan. This is a collaborative process. I'm not going to be pulling that out of the air. I am vice chair of the budget committee, and with my colleagues on the committee and on the council, we're going to be looking hard. We've asked all departments to take a hard look and figure out where we're going to get these resources from. This is uncharted territory, Conan, so I don't have a pat answer for you. No other major city in our country has done anything like this, and I'm glad that LA is going to be a trendsetter, a pioneer.
This kind of allocation normally takes months to study, conversations with department heads. This certainly looks like reform on the fly. Just about a week ago, the mayor was talking about increasing spending on police.
Correct. You know, Conan, this is, as I said, it's a work in progress, a somewhat uncharted territory. Budgets, as a rule, are works in progress, always changing, always readjusting. This is going to be a little more dramatic. But to say that it's not being thoughtful, it's not being deliberate, and it's not being inclusive is wrong. We are doing all of that so that we do come up with the right answer, the right number, and the right programs.
The mayor says his statements at First AME were twisted when he said we need to stop being the killers. He was talking about all aspects of society. It wasn't about the LAPD, he said. But you signed Council President Martinez's statement that did connect LA police with racism and death, saying if we're going to end the sin of racism and all its dehumanizing and deadly consequences, including in our police department, then we have to provide real solutions for real people who need our assistance. That was the quote. What were you saying there?
You know, our police department has had a mixed experiences in our community. Certainly in the past, it had a very negative, oppressive kind of connotation. In more recent years, the police has certainly been more community oriented, I think more active. I think we've got good people in that force. We have a good chief that wants to move forward. But there's always room for improvement.
Right, but saying there's room for improvement is a lot different than linking this police department with the actions of 4 officers in Minneapolis.
Well, see, I see it a little differently, Conan. I think we're linking it to a desire to make some changes. And the budget is an expression of change. And we are moving to do that. You know, it's certainly we have a lot of respect for the police. I do personally, have friends that have supported the police over the years. I'm not trying to put them in that same bag of bad cops, no. But we do have different priorities than we had 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. They've changed dramatically. And we got to take some dramatic steps to address those issues in ways that we have not before. And, you know, it's going to be painful for all of us, but we shouldn't, you know, we got to move it anyway.
The Honorable Curren Price of the City of Los Angeles, member of the City Council, thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, Conan.
Joining us now is Robert Harris, a 20-year LAPD veteran and a member of the Board of Directors for the Los Angeles Police Protective League, the union representing the LAPD rank and file. So, Mr. Harris, your reaction to the cuts to your department?
Well, I think Council President Nury Martinez and the mayor have lost their minds, or at least their spines. Council President Martinez, she ran on a platform of improving public safety and expanding public safety. A lot of our budget increases have been to help her with what's important to her in human trafficking. So there is absolutely no excuse for us to find out about this through a tweet. If you really want to start moving towards and looking at how we can move things around, that's fine, but that's not what this was about. This was about them absolving themselves of taking ownership of the problems that lay at their feet and instead pointing all of the fingers at our officers for society's ills.
Where do you expect these cuts to be felt?
You know, I don't know where the cuts would go. I am assuming a reduction in manpower. It's going to be a reduction in training hours. It's going to be a reduction in replacing equipment, whether that's our vehicles, whether that's less lethal options, whether that's body cameras. None of that will actually help us produce anything that they claim that they want to do. And again, if they had reached out to us, we would have been part of those conversations, but they didn't.
There was a statement made by Council President Martinez and signed by our previous guest, Curren Price, that the budget cuts were part of an effort to end racism and its often deadly consequences in policing, including with the LAPD. What was the reaction to that from your members?
Obviously, they shared their frustrations about the way, the manner, and the messaging behind that motion and what it implied. They took it personally. Again, these are officers who have taken bricks to the head, have been shot, have been verbally assaulted, water bottles thrown at them, feces and urine thrown at them, and to have a motion like that labels them as the problem of harming our minority communities was disgusting. It made me want to vomit.
But the concern is still that there's a warrior culture within the department, that in some neighborhoods it's to protect and serve, and south of the 10 freeway it's to contain and control. And community-based policing is more of a theory than a practice. How do you respond to that?
I respond that anytime you put our officers out into the community, they have an obligation to build relationships with them and to keep that level of trust. But the reality is that the majority of our violent crime occurs down in South Los Angeles. And so in an attempt to try and protect the community members down there who just want to go about their daily lives, that it can be tough at times. And again, if we want to have conversations about how we continue to bridge the gap and build trust, we can do that. But that is not what is happening with our leadership right now. If anything, they've served to undermine that right now. The Los Angeles Police Department is a shining example of what police reform can be. All of the reforms that are being called for, the LAPD already does. That's not to say that we can't continue to improve, but we can't have those discussions if we're going to have to sit back and watch the political gamesmanship that's going on right now.
Robert Harris of the Los Angeles Police Protective League, thanks for taking the time.
Thank you very much, sir.
In a moment, one of those pushing for an investment in communities of color, civil rights attorney Connie Rice and law enforcement expert Errol Sothers from USC when we return.